mali, tuitenge jumuiya bora. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuwajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much. And ladies and gentlemen, just before you take your seats, as advised, the healthy human being needs at least 7 compliments a day. I don't know how many you've received so far, but at least stand to 3 people and give them a compliment, a genuine compliment, and welcome them to this wonderful event. All right, yes, come on. Bonga with them, say you're welcome. At least 3 people just to kickstart the compliments of the day. And once you're done with your 3, you're welcome to take your seats. Thank you very much. Someone said when you compliment a lady, you don't ask her if the hair is hers. If it's on her head, it is hers. All right? That's none of your business. You're all absolutely welcome to this event, whose theme, Uganda's Digital Transformation Journey. And we're going to be unpacking what's been happening with RCIP. But allow me, in a special way, of course, acknowledge the presence of our minister, who we have already introduced. A round of applause. In our presence, of course, also is the Nita-U Uganda ED, Executive Director, Dr. Hatwib Mugasa. You're absolutely welcome. Also, of course, our funders for this wonderful project, headed by the country manager and representative from the World Bank. A round of applause for Madame Makami Kariuki. Come on, a hand of applause for her as well. Of course, we have our board of directors here at Nita Uganda. I see our board chair as well, Honorable James Chualabye Kabajo. You're absolutely welcome, sir. And the rest of us, today is a day for CIOs, and I can see all of us here. We also have some of our vendors, or better put, our IT strategic partners. I see colleagues from Huawei. You're welcome. Mantra, Sibyl, Soliton, to mention but a few. Of course, we're also honored to have different CEOs that I can see in the room today. I can see our good friend, Mr. Amos Wekesa, who'll be on the panel a little later, from Great Lakes Safaris. From UBC, we have Winston Agaba. Thank you so much. If I'm not mistaken, I think I also saw the Group CEO of Next Media Services, Mr. Kin Karisa, who is also in our presence. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me just kickstart today's event by inviting to come and give us the opening remarks and just set direction for today's discussion. Nita Uganda's Director, E-Government Services, and that's none other than Mr. Colin Babiru. Come, round of applause.
Thank you, Ronnie. Good morning, everybody. Allow me to just start by really thanking all of you for coming. And again, Honorable Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Bariomonsi, the World Bank Country Manager, Ms. Kariuki, representative of the PS of ICT, who is also here, Chairman and members of the board of Nita-U, the CEOs, as was mentioned, the CIOs. When we say CIOs, we mean Chief Information Officers. And this is a breakfast that is convening most of our Chief Information Officers, heads of ITs, directors of IT leaders within the government and the private sector. We also want to welcome our strategic partners, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to just briefly say, first of all, thank you very, very much for coming to just spend this morning with us on behalf of the ED and, of course, Nita. Thank you for coming. And today we celebrate the successful completion of a 5-year strategic partnership with the World Bank, as we were working towards digitalization of the country. And as you will note along the way, that the RCIP, or the Regional Communications Infrastructure Project, was dealing with the regulatory environment, dealing with connectivity, infrastructure, e-government, and e-services, and those were key areas and theme areas. I therefore want to thank you for coming to spend this morning as we just talk about and plan a way forward for digital transformation of this country. Now, we are at a place, as I share briefly, we're at a place where we have shifted gears from infrastructure, and we're now soon moving into a digital acceleration program, or UDAP. And we're going to be seeing e-services at the forefront of where we are going. And e-services are electronic services which we need to deliver to our citizens. And these will bring convenience, these will bring cost efficiencies, and they will make life easy and customer friendly. And as our vision goes, lives should be transformed and are transformed through e-services delivery. So today, underlined in the theme is how we can deliver e-services to our citizens to ensure that we're making their lives easy. Like citizens always say, or like people have said, citizens don't really care how you do it. So for us as CIOs who are here, we'll talk about infrastructure, backbones, APIs, fiber optic cable, NBI, and cloud systems. But the citizen ultimately wants an e-service. They want convenience in their homes, in their schools, in the farthest district. They want convenience. They don't really care how we do it. So we need to work very hard together with you all to think digital first. Digital must be first on our minds, and the citizen must be first on our minds. I therefore want to welcome you to join us on this journey as we, close successfully RCIP, and we then begin working towards digital acceleration. With those words, allow me to invite the CEO, or otherwise known as Executive Director of the National IT Authority, Dr. Hatwib Mugasa. Kindly just welcome him to the podium.
Thank you, Colin, and good morning. Good morning and welcome to the breakfast, or government CIO breakfast meeting. I would like to welcome the Right Honorable Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Dr. Chris Balyomunsi. He is our Minister in the Ministry of ICT. And the honorable members of parliament and their representatives. I will not mention all the representatives who have attended. The representative from the bank, represented by the country manager, Ms. Mokami. The CEOs present, I've seen a couple of CEOs. It's nice to meet you again after meeting at the CEO Expo. And all the representatives from other agencies and the media. Welcome to this key event for Uganda. It's not just one for NITA, but this is an event for Uganda, an achievement in the digital transformation of our country. RCIP, or the Regional Communications Infrastructure Project, was a project that started in 2016, late 2016, to roll out fiber to enable government of Uganda transform digitally by rolling out fiber, rolling out government's e-government services that are electronic or digital, and also changing the mindsets. I know ICT, Ministry of ICT is the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance. We need to be guided on how to transform digitally too. And from the ministry, I appreciate the effort that the Ministry of ICT has provided to implement this project. They have guided in transforming agencies, transforming Uganda, in adopting digital solutions. The journey of RCIP, as mentioned, started in 2016. We are coming to a close. We should have ended in February 2020, but because of the pandemic, we know the challenge that we went through as a country and globally. Pandemic put some work on hold, and we had to request for an extension, but with that extension, we are requesting to complete the project at 100% completion. This is one of the highest performing projects in the portfolios of the bank, and I think it is an achievement. Thank you. The project was set forward to provide two objectives. One, lower the cost of international capacity for internet, broadband internet, and extend the reach of the broadband network to as far as the parishes. Two, improve government efficiency and transparency through e-government applications. That was the major objective of RCIP, and I believe we have achieved that. Within those objectives, there were sub-components or smaller areas of scope of works, and we broke them down into four major areas. The first was enabling environment, and the panelists will elaborate more on that. The second, connectivity, and this is, I think, the major component within RCIP. Third, e-government, as you have heard from the director, e-government services. E-government directorate or the e-government services are the pillar to that digital transformation of our country. And the fourth was project management within NITA and other stakeholders, other ministries, agencies, and departments. We also focused our scope of works in four sectors of government. This was agriculture, health, education, justice, law and order sectors. Under RCIP, NITA was able to register milestones, successful milestones within the 5 years and the additional extension due to COVID of 6 months. And the biggest milestone is completing the project at 100% completion. The other milestones, I'll just break down a couple of them. I can't go through all of them in the interest of time. But under RCIP, we extended fiber in two areas. There's the backbone, what we know as the highway, the high-speed internet cable, or what is commonly known as the National Backbone Infrastructure / e-government infrastructure. We extended over 842 kilometers of backbone and 764 kilometers of last mile. What's the difference? Backbone is like a highway. This is a high-speed internet cable, which is meant to connect districts between districts or district to district regional areas. But last mile is taking the fiber or taking connectivity to the office, to the last user of the service. With that connection, we were able to double the number of users within a year and a half. So congratulations for all the technical people. I know the team spent sleepless nights and they really need a big hand clap for this. Double, and even we are due to even pass those numbers. This was not expected, but if we can do it, let's do it. Let's shoot for the sky. If we can shoot for the sky, let's shoot even above the skies. On top of that, we were able to connect Wi-Fi hotspots. When we take fiber, we also need to set up Wi-Fi hotspots because most of our technology devices are now wireless. So we also connected 300 Wi-Fi hotspots, which, when commissioned, will provide high-speed internet access. And we also intend to provide free Wi-Fi because we already have Wi-Fi in Kampala, but we need to get the regional centers also using the service, and we shall provide that same service up country. We also went green. Technology is destructive if not managed well, but as we're even going, we're adding a plus. We're not just rolling out technology, we're rolling out green technology. So our transmission sites, this is like when you're taking power, you need a transmission base. That uses a lot of power also. Similarly, internet, when you're taking internet, you need a transmission site that uses internet, or power, sorry, electricity. But we have transformed all the transmission sites on the NBI to solar. So our major source of energy is solar energy on the transmission sites. Under RCIP, now this is one of the objectives, to lower the cost of internet and cost of doing business in Uganda through technology, information and communication technologies. When we started the project, RCIP, project, the cost of internet was at $300 for 1 megabyte per second per month. Currently, and during the project implementation, that cost was we were able to reduce the cost to $70 for 1 megabyte per second per month. But that's not all. We intend even to lower it after the final commissioning next month. So you will be receiving a new price of the cost of internet, and this will benefit not just government, but even the private sector. The cost of data on your phone will also come down. That was about a 56% reduction. If we are to benchmark currently at $70, we are still at 56% cheaper than any other service provider in the market for the quality of internet that is provided. E-government services, and for this there are many. We have more than 190 applications at Nita, or hosted at Nita. I can't go through them all, but I'll highlight the major projects and applications that were developed under RCIP. We developed a whole of government integration platform, what we call UG Hub. UG Hub brings together government systems. It enables information sharing. It provides you a very high-speed access, very as a very integratable solution for government agencies and even the private sector to share information effectively, efficiently, and securely, because information sharing sometimes will have a challenge if we are not securing it, but UG Hub provides that measure of security in sharing information between government agencies and the private sector, and banks. Banks have really, I appreciate the financial sector for adopting UG Hub. When you are going to open, or when you go to a bank to open up a bank account, first thing they will ask for is verification of your national ID. Previously, it was a 1 week process. If you are lucky, it takes about a week. If you're not, a month, to just verify that Hatui Bungasa is Hatui Bungasa, as government knows him in the national register. With UG Hub, it is a click of a button. You just supply your NIN and the banks are able to verify you immediately. So that's the benefit of RCIP. We also centralized the hosting services within government by building onto the National Data Center. We have 196 applications hosted at the National Data Center for 95 government entities. What does this mean? Those 95 government entities did not have to build, they didn't have to spend any cost on building up their own data centers. Just the initial cost of a data center will take you back about $10 million for a secure and sustainable data center for a government agency. So $10 million out of the 90 government agencies were saved for government. Then there are recurring licensing, recurring costs like licenses, power, cooling. These machines take a lot of power. Annually, an average data center will consume about 500,000 US dollars to maintain annually for recurring costs. The government of Uganda has taken down that cost, and this is per, I would say, in some cases per system. So the 196 applications would have cost almost 500,000 US dollars per application. What NITA through RCIP did was to bring that cost down to tens of thousands of US dollars. It's average about 14,000. That's the last calculation that I did. 14,000 US dollars per application. That is almost a 98% saving to government of Uganda. RCIP also rolled out other systems, the Unified Messaging and Collaboration System, to streamline and standardize the way government information is shared. There is a cabinet directive that was passed early this year, instructing government agencies to only communicate through official government channels. But we still have instances where information, sensitive information, is being shared through non-official government channels. Through UMCS, or the Unified Messaging and Collaboration System, government of Uganda was able to implement that directive, and I commend the CEOs in this room, the leaders of the IT sectors in those agencies for instructing or driving this transformation of the non-official to official communication within their agencies, and were able to get 129 government entities officially adopting the official communication channels, with almost 23,000 users now compliant. Then now I'll just go through the last three very fast, because there are so many benefits from RCIP. If we were to go through all of them, we'll finish probably next week. But the last big three benefits, the digital authentication and electronic signature solution, what we are terming as or calling UG Pass. Yes, you can communicate securely, but once that communication is received at the end user, how do you authenticate that communication? So UG Pass comes in with that answer. It authenticates with a digital signature. We are offering you a solution that will certify your communication and avoid fake news, as we have seen in the news. Signing contracts, you can sign digitally. Banks also transacting online. We know we are now going, we're seeing cryptocurrencies or some form of crypto or electronic transactions being utilized, but it will not be beneficial for the banks if there's no authentication and signing platform. So the digital signature solution is here to solve that problem. In the sectors, we have one of the biggest initiatives that we rolled out under RCIP was in the agricultural sector by rolling out an agro input traceability system. This is a system designed to track agro products from the seedlings. What type of seedlings were used to produce a product? What are the chemical or agrochemical composition? The fit, and you forgive me for if there are any agro someone from agriculture sector. The phytosanitary settings of the or features of the agro product were also captured in this system, and this is to enable our products to be recognized internationally, to be certified, recognized, and to promote our agro products, not just locally, but for the international market. Another system was within the National Data Center, or we certified our National Data Center to a ISO IEC 27001 certification. This is one of the highly achieved certifications within data centers, and this now puts us in a level of a developed nation, or in terms of securing our information, we are at par with developed nations. So that can also provide more guarantee that if an international organization would like to come and do business within Uganda, and they are data-centric, or they depend on data, Uganda is able to accommodate their needs. With that, we also rolled out, provided computers to schools, government agencies, and all the sectors that were earmarked for RCIP. As I conclude, I would like to thank our parent ministry, the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, for the guidance and support they provided to the sector and to Nita in digitizing Uganda. I would also like to thank our development partners, the World Bank in enabling us make this project a success. We would not have done it without the support from the World Bank. Thank you. And other service providers. As mentioned, this project was rolling out fiber, which was provided by one of the or the leading developers of fiber optic cable or technology in the world, Huawei International, and also the other service providers. I cannot mention all of them. And lastly, I would like to thank the staff at the National IT Authority of Uganda for the resilience and commitment to transforming our nation to a knowledge-based nation. Thank you very much. I thank the chief information officers of all organizations that worked with us through this 5-year journey, and being our ambassadors and opening doors for us. Thank you very much. Yes. And with those remarks, I would like to now invite the country manager for the World Bank to provide, to give us her word of, to give us a word of thanks.
Minister of ICT, Chris Byanamusa, the Nita-U ED, Dr. Hatwib Mugasa, members of parliament, members of the government, chief information officers, and members of the media, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start by thanking you for inviting me to join this morning's meeting. We are honored to be here to share a few perspectives on the role of the 5th Regional Communications Infrastructure Project in expanding digital connectivity, improving service delivery, promoting inclusion, resilience, and sustainable growth. As you may already know, the 5th Regional Infrastructure Project is part of a series of investments that the World Bank has made in the region. This series of projects has been instrumental in building the backbone infrastructure for digital services that we're all benefiting from today. So I'm happy to be joining you today to celebrate the completion of yet another leg in this journey. The World Bank is proud to have been a partner in Uganda's ongoing digital transformation journey, and we hope to continue in this role. Let me open by congratulating Nita-U and the Ministry of ICT and NG on your stellar accomplishments under RCIP 5 initiative, and on your continuous efforts to digitize public services and deliver them in increasingly user-friendly ways, especially during the COVID pandemic. As we all know, the digital technology that we benefited from enabled us to continue services and business operations across various facets of society during the pandemic. The RCIP project has the broad development objective of addressing the regional communication connectivity constraints, particularly for landlocked countries, which must rely on transiting broadband infrastructure through neighboring countries. The regional program has supported different countries over the last 5 phases. The first phase covered Kenya, Burundi, and Madagascar, linking the undersea cables to the region. The second phase covered Rwanda. The third phase, Malawi, Mozambique, and Tanzania. The fourth, the Union of Comoros. And the fifth was designed and approved in 2016, as we've heard, to support Uganda in its efforts to lower prices, extend the geographic reach of broadband networks, and improve the government's efficiency and transparency through e-government applications. The RCIP series of projects has also enabled interconnection of infrastructure within the region. And so indeed, we have a network now that will serve us well into the future. Ladies and gentlemen, digital platforms are increasingly playing a role in transforming the way people, governments, and businesses, as well as civil society, interact with each other. The use of these digital public platforms in Uganda continues to grow as the country increases its efforts to digitize public services. Uganda needs to build on this notable progress and increase the potential benefits of public and commercial platforms to expand access to digitized services and transactions. Key pieces of legislation and their implementation, especially on cybersecurity and cybercrime, data protection, and protection of critical information infrastructure, need to be strengthened to enhance trust in the use of digital platforms. Developing a robust identification document platform, we also believe, can help to facilitate access to digitized services and transactions for citizens and cut down on resource leakage. Better utilization of shared digital infrastructure and services and adherence to common standards across government would allow for greater efficiency and interoperability of government platforms, and ultimately a better user experience and stronger uptake among individuals and businesses accessing public services online. At the World Bank, our financing analytical support is articulated around an ecosystem approach targeting foundation pillars, including digital connectivity, digital financial services, digital public platforms, digital businesses, and digital skills. For instance, the RCIP 5 project that we're here to celebrate today has provided support for developing and updating key laws and regulations with the view to increasing competition, lowering prices for broadband connectivity, and extending digital services. It's also expanded the national fiber optic backbone infrastructure and connected government facilities around the country to high-speed broadband. The project will also help to improve government's ability to deliver services to its citizens by putting in place e-government infrastructure, digital platforms, and other shared services. RCIP 5 closes at the end of August and is expected to achieve all its key objectives, as we've heard, disbursing the $75 million in funding allocated for the project. Achievement of these objectives is indeed a reason to celebrate. So I think, as I've said, ICT and innovation are critical to the success of Uganda's Vision 2040, including the aim to ensure more inclusive use of digital technologies. Achieving Vision 2040 will require proactive policies to foster inclusivity, including addressing gender and geographical disparities in the country. Currently, Uganda ranks for 83rd out of 100 countries on the Inclusive Internet Index, and while 4 out of 5 people live within the range of a mobile broadband network, fixed internet connections stand at less than 1%. Indeed, the digital era technology is instrumental and will become essential in enabling and ensuring that we achieve development outcomes. So the goal of ensuring inclusivity laid out in Vision 2040 is critical. Let me also note that the planned UDAP GovNet project, this is Uganda Digital Acceleration-GovNet project, approved by the World Bank Board in June 2021, aims to build on the outcomes of RCIP 5. It's well aligned with the objectives of Uganda's current NDP 3, which covers the period fiscal year 21 to 25. NDP 3 notes that digital technology can play a catalyzing role in raising agricultural productivity, improving broadband infrastructure, workforce competitiveness, and service delivery. And therefore, UDAP-GovNet project is intended to contribute to these objectives, as well as the enhancement of refugee protection in accordance with NDP 3's Governance and Security Program Implementation Action Plan. The UDAP-GovNet project has been designed to support the implementation of the GovNet initiative, which is government's flagship initiative, contributing to the objectives of Digital Uganda Vision and the Digital Transformation Project under NDP 3. So the acceleration of the digital agenda through this Uganda Digital Acceleration Project will support applications across multiple sectors. We've already heard about agriculture, but obviously education and other critical sectors are also beneficiaries of this project. And it will also help to develop safeguards around privacy, data protection, and cybersecurity, as well as aligning the digital agenda with climate change priorities. Indeed, we believe at the bank that technology will be advanced through the project and will offer Uganda the opportunity to leapfrog forward and accelerate the pace of development. So we are keen to actively engage to explore ways to leverage emerging technologies for a data-driven development across the country. We hope, therefore, that the approval of the UDAP GovNet project will soon be finalized to enable a seamless transition from RCIP 5 to UDAP GovNet and allow the continuation of the digital program that government has started. I take this opportunity to reaffirm the commitment of the World Bank in accompanying Uganda on this journey of developing a robust and vibrant digital environment, and really look forward to seeing the outcomes of the many achievements that were mentioned by the ED earlier. Thank you very much.
Come on, a bigger and much deserved round of applause for a development partner without which all the achievements the ED talked about would not have been possible. Ladies and gentlemen, following our program, and I'm glad we're doing well on time, and maybe just to give you a heads up, I believe you all scanned and have a copy of the program. In a short while, I'm going to be inviting our board chair to give his remarks, shortly after which we shall have a panel discussion before we have our tea break. And so right now, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for our board chair, Honorable James Chiwalabye Kabajo, as he comes just to give us his remarks on behalf of the board.
the Honorable Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Honorable Chris Baryomusi, Honorable MPs present, the representative of World Bank, Nita-U board members present, the ED of Nita and all the team members from Nita-U, all the partners present here with whom we have worked, Huawei, Soliton, and the others, the CIOs present here, and the press. Good morning to you all. It gives me great pleasure to address you today and thank you for joining us this morning. The government of Uganda's Digital Vision 2020 identifies ICT as a key driver to development. We can all agree that we cannot talk about development without integration of ICTs in all that we do. It's practically the fuel that ignites all sectors of the economy. ICT enables economic development by broadening the reach of technologies such as high-speed internet, mobile broadband, and computing. Expanding these technologies itself creates growth, and the fact that technologies make it easier for people to interact and make labor and makes for a more productive environment. The government of Uganda has recognized that for us as Uganda to attain a knowledge-based society, investments in ICT are critical. The pillars that need working on include the institutional framework, and that involves the different entities, for example, UBC, Nita-U, Posta Uganda, UICT, and of course, with the mother ministry, the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, being the overall in charge of the sector. Then there is the legal and regulatory framework, and in this area, we have various policies that have been set up, such as the National ICT Policy, Broadband Policy, e-government regulations, telecom regulations, the Electronic Signature and Transactions Act, Data Protection and Privacy Act, and others. And all these are needed in order to set up a proper framework for working. I'm sorry. Yeah, the infrastructure framework has also seen the establishment of the national backbone, e-government infrastructure, data center transmission sites, the national SAT, and other elements of the infrastructure. Our esteemed guests, I would like to confirm to you that enabling environment for Uganda's digital transformation has been laid. Uganda now boasts of a vibrant and robust IT ecosystem. Through the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance and Nita-U, the government set up the national backbone infrastructure so as to connect all public service entities in Uganda, districts and towns, health centers, learning institutions, via an optical fiber optic network. With funding from the World Bank, Nita was tasked to implement the Regional Infrastructure Program, RCIP, with a program to transform public service delivery in Uganda, using ICT in order to improve the lives of Ugandans. I would like to thank the bank for extending financial support to Government of Uganda and within Nita-U as an implementing agency, which has enabled the successful completion of this project. The RCIP project has enabled Government of Uganda to further extend the geographical reach of broadband services to all regions of the country. And right now, the network covers over 4,300 kilometers, traversing 56 districts and connecting over 1,400 government offices. This has enabled the reliable transmission of data and other government services across government and enhances the efficiency and effectiveness of communication as well as service delivery. Before this network was set up, we used to have a situation where government servants working in the different parts of the country would do their work, save the work on a flash disk, and send it with a driver or by post to maybe to Kampala or wherever it was required. But now, with this network, they are able to transmit the data efficiently. Through RCIP, Nita-U has also established the first Tier 3 national data center, and this has allowed government entities to have a place where they can have data center services without having to replicate the same services in different entities. And that has caused a reduction in cost to the country, because each data center that you establish costs money to first to set up and also to maintain. And this has helped the country to reduce on the silo-based hosting services, and also as we go to the phase of integration, this one is also going to help us in the integration of government services. I conclude by thanking our parent ministry, the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance, for the vision, guidance, direction, and the support that you have given to Nita-U, and all the people that we have been working with in order to implement the RCIP project. As we continue to push for digital transformation and an increase in connectivity within Uganda, affordability and inclusivity should be central to the digital shift. Our commitment is to achieve nationwide connectivity, internet affordability, and ease of access to digital tools so that no one is left behind in Uganda's digital future. I wish you all fruitful deliberations for God and my country.
Come on, a bigger round of applause for our board chair. And in a short while, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to be having that panel discussion that I told you about, whose theme is harnessing connectivity for IR as a driver for socio-economic transformation. But just before that, I've been advised we'll be having Mr. Robert Mutebi just to come and give a small direction or just guide us with a small speech in regard to the panel that we're getting into right now. So I'll ask us to give him a round of applause as Mr. Commissioner makes his way here.
Robert Mutebi is my name. I'm a Commissioner for IT and Innovations at the URA. Happy to be here. All protocol observed because of the time that we have. I have a personal mission that excites me to be here. I've been in IT for quite a while, and I've seen how it transforms lives. So the passionate mission I have in being part of this fraternity is to make Uganda one of the best places to raise a family. And when you look at that, for all of us who are parents who worry about the socio-economic status of our country and dream of that day when we don't have to send people abroad for them to have a decent living. And the things that we're talking about take us there. Socioeconomic, when you think about that, simply means that there's increasing value in the community and that we're creating constant and growing abundance around us, wherever we go. And so the points I want to make here as a sense of what can 4IR do for us to be able to deliver socioeconomic development for us are very few. For some of us, maybe, who are not high-tech, this is what 4IR means. It means the fourth industrial revolution. The first revolution is what happened in 1704 when we were introducing mechanical systems in the sense of factories. I think the most common thing there was a steam engine, that you have this mechanical machine that is powered by coal, and you had a lot of slaves that have to keep digging this up to power the whole thing. And so the steam engine was the first industrial revolution. The second one came when power, electric power, was introduced. And instead of using manual hands to move the mechanics, you had electrical power driving that. And that powered a lot of industries. The third one is when computing was introduced. So we came into this age, that was about 1960, of using computers to do a lot of arithmetic and a lot of calculations and a lot of work that we are used to doing. And now, right now, we are in the fourth industrial revolution. It's still computing, but now we have man and machine working together. And therefore, I think the most common thing is really when you walk into the room and the lights go, your presence and the machine sensing that you're there, then delivers a service. Some of us have been on the expressways where the cameras flash the moment your vehicle moves in. So the critical thing here is running around sensors working with you to be able to deliver service. Then certain things that we can look at right there, I mean, number of technologies that you hear about, robotics, virtual reality, the connectivity that we're talking about that's ubiquitous, cloud computing, the big data, they sound like big buzzwords for most of us. But we are in that space right now. And the conversation we're going to have really is around what does that take? It takes a transition for us, takes innovation, takes a lot of integration, takes a lot of data that we need to talk about, and interconnectivity. And so that's really what 4IR is all about. But this is what it means in terms of practical application, which is my second point. Stakeholder engagement. We've been building technologies along the way that are focused within the organizations where we are. But right now, I think we're all learning that ecosystems and platforms is really what changes the game. There's nothing that we're doing in government that is self-centered right now. In my place in the URA, I think we collect all revenue for government for all MDAs. So whatever platforms I have to build have to be centered around driving the ecosystem across all the MDAs. When you build a payment platform in Nita, it is not for Nita. It is for an ecosystem around, and there are many stakeholders around there. Employers, staff, the general community, partners like the World Bank, a lot of other people in the marketplace, businesses and stuff. So the platform needs to be able to serve everyone in that space. And so we see a lot of challenge for us to create much stakeholder value, because everyone who plays in that space needs to have something, quid pro quo, in other words. Cross-organization transaction flows to be complete. The other day I was calling a friend in Nita, calling here. We had an issue with payments at Mulago. They come through Nita, and then they land in URA, and then they go to the bank. So if this person is standing there and they're trying to make a payment for a sick patient, every one of us is a player in this process. And if we're not able to drive ecosystems that can serve like that, we fail, all of us. And so we have distributed roles and expectations in this space as we develop these ecosystems. And there are many things that we talk about here. We need to identify people. If any one of us, whether you're a bank, whether you're a whoever you are, you're NSSF, you need to register and identify these particular people. So the ED was talking about how right now banks can identify you by the national database in an instant. There's a lot of players around that. We need to address and be able to enable payments in forms of payment gateways and dashboards for us to be able to see how we are performing across the chain. And a lot of process improvements, interoperability, and a lot of documentation that needs to be certified. So when we talk about UGPass, it's not for Nita alone. It's all of us being able to identify and authenticate and even e-consent. So the challenges we're seeing right now is that, can we build platforms? Are we able to put the right rails in terms of the infrastructure that we build? And the Nita has done quite a job in that regard. But beyond that, we need to define the rules. And I've had, I think, the board chair and the honorable minister talking about, in many ways, the legal frameworks and the rules that govern the operations of these ecosystems. These are the challenges that we need to deal with right now. So what does the operational outlook look like in this regard? You notice that because we have to deal with ecosystems, we have to build rules that govern all of us. We have to be able to deliver services. So customer experience becomes critical, and it has to be delivered by all of us. Can you move to the next slide, please? And so in IT, we know that for us to build systems that work, we need to look at the people factor, the information technology and the data. We need to look at our partners, but more importantly, deliver the value streams and the processes that we're talking about. But how do you get there? And why should you get there? The why is really about the superior customer experience we're looking at. Because, like Collins here rightly said, the end user doesn't really care who is in the ecosystem and who is playing. They want to get a service. I've been in many of these banking halls, and the banks sometimes will have an issue, and they will say the URA system is off. The URA system is off. But at the end of the day, this person takes that because what they need to know is that their service has been delivered. They don't care really about who in this CIC is not doing their job. They just want to be able to pay for their passport. And so this superior customer experience is one of those subjects that we need to be able to discuss, talk about, to create this socio-economic value that we're looking for. The other things like extending reach. I think every one of us here is struggling with how do we take this service to Tororo, to Moroto, to Kabale, to Chisoro, everywhere. And our friends in the private sector have done very well in building distribution channels and agent banking networks that take these services to the last man in the village. How do we translate that same model and be able to deliver it within government services? Because they're needed up to the last point in Uganda. And when you think about these things, it presents a challenge for us CIOs. Number one, that all these technologies are talking about in the fourth industrial revolution. Number one, data analysis and AI. It sounds a buzzword, but in the bottom of it, it's really to be able to improve our decision quality. And the challenge we have for us in this room is how do we translate all these tech high buzzwords into business cases that are visible. Data analytics will help you with decision quality. Can we be able to state that clearly and how much value we'll deliver out of that? These robotics and process automation are largely about building efficiencies. Are we able to demonstrate how we're going to build efficiencies using these 4IR technologies? Cloud computing, ubiquitous and networks and Internet of Things. So you have sensors and a lot of connectivity. It's really about us being able to drive the cost of operations down and be able to expand the reach that we're talking about. I was privileged to be part of the team that actually crafted the first business case for agent banking. And I remember some of the numbers. It told us 500 million is averagely what a banking branch costs per month. A small one that has about 5 staff is about 300 million. But when we did the business case for a terminal, this post terminal, it came down to a very small margin. And so in comparison, every person who walks into a banking hall will cost about 10,000 shillings if it's a banking hall. On an agent terminal, it goes down 500 shillings. So in essence, the bank is better off serving you from an agent point than having you into a hall. That demonstrates reduced cost of service delivery, and yet at the same time you're expanding reach. So how do we use a terminal like that with a SIM card, with connectivity, to be able to drive down the cost of serving our communities? And of course, there's a lot of collaboration that we need to do, because like we said, these are ecosystems. We are building platforms, multiple players. And so how do we then begin thinking about the rails, how we build them, and the rules that we will govern all of us to make sure that we deliver a service? It's never done in one day. So in IT, we normally talk about this. What's the vision? State it. Where are we now? Benchmark. Where should we be? What are the measurable targets over the 5 years ahead that we're going to tick off every day? Can we be able to sit and say, how did we get there? Define the processes. And then be able to sit in a room like here and question, did we actually get where we wanted to go? Because as we take the steps and as we grow, we need to be able to see the value that we created and the wins that we're registering and celebrate them. So today I came here with my colleagues to celebrate how far these projects have come, but at the same time to think about how do we then harness what we've done so far and redefine socio-economic development of the technologies that we're delivering over the years. Because unless we monitor, I think our wise friends always say, if you can't inspect it, don't expect it. How do we monitor monthly, weekly, quarterly, yearly to make sure that we're actually causing development in the community? I thank you very much for listening.
Sometimes you don't need to wait for an introduction, and since I'm the next person, I just decided to take the seat. Good morning. I recognize the presence of Minister of ICT, Dr. Chris Baryomusi, Country Manager, World Bank, Ms. Mukami Kairuki, ED Nita, Dr. Hatwib Mugasa, government representatives from different ministries, and ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited to be here this morning. My name is Barbara Birunji Mtawazi. I'm a founder of Hive Collab. Hive Collab is a business innovation and incubation space, so I work with young people. We started that around 10 years ago, and I can tell you one of our biggest challenges was connectivity. And that's actually one of the reasons we started the hub, to create a space where young people who are looking to build technologies that would support key sectors in our country around education, health, governance, finance, and agriculture, to provide them with a space that had affordable internet, because that was one of the biggest challenges that they had. And also to bring other services to them in a central place. If investors were looking for young people to work with or to invest in, we wanted them to know that there is a space where they can easily be found. If academia is looking for ways to support innovators as young people leave university and they no longer have access to the facilities of the universities, we've created that channel, directly working with academia, so that as young people are transitioning, they're not just looking for jobs which ideally didn't even exist, to create their own jobs. And as I was doing that, I found that there were very few women. And so I started Women in Technology Uganda with the aim of getting more women into the spaces, getting more women online, getting more women to build and also be users of technology. And over the last 12, 13 years, my work has revolved around connecting people, getting people to get online. So digital literacy for women, for girls in schools, across all the different sectors really. And so I'm excited to be moderating this panel around harnessing connectivity and 4IR for social and economic development. Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, first of all, a round of applause for my passionate friend Barbara here, especially passionate about women inclusivity and IT. But we've just got a small request from the minister who needs to leave for some official duty. But before he does, he would really love to be able to address us. So I'm going to request Barbara just for a minute and ask us to put hands together for the ED just to return and do us the honors of inviting the minister, who'll just give us his remarks before we can release him to go for other official duties. And right after that, we'll jump into Ms. Mtawazi's passionate panel.
Thank you. My work here is simple, and to be very short, I would like to invite the Honorable Prime Minister of ICT and National Guidance, Honorable Dr. Chris Baryomunsi. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hatwib. He has promoted me to the Prime Minister, and the only comment I can make is that may God hear your words. The country manager, the World Bank, Madam Nikami, our friend, the chairperson of the board of directors of Nita-U, and the members of the board, the executive director, Nita-U, Dr. Hatwib, and all the members of staff of Nita-U, distinguished senior leaders in the government and the other agencies, ladies and gentlemen, in your respective capacities. You will forgive me for disrupting the program because I have some urgent assignment, but I will be fully with you up to the end in the spirit. When you become a minister, people write for you very long speeches and they imprison you. I will beg to get out of prison and just paraphrase the contents of the speech. so as also to save on the time, since we have panel discussions and other speakers. So I am here on behalf of government and on my own behalf as the Minister of ICT and National Guidance. When I say government, I mean the NRM government. Now, the NRM government, many Ugandans who are old enough recall that we used to talk of the 10-point program, which was later expanded to 15, but sometimes also we reduced it to 4 ideological pillars on which NRM stands. And they are: 1, patriotism. We believe in patriotism. Number 2, Pan-Africanism. Number 3, democracy. And number 4, socio-economic transformation. So if they ask you what does NRM stand for, if you mention those 4, you will pass. And whatever we do as a government, we have to ensure that it fits and answers to those broad ideological goals. And that explains, for instance, when you look at the pillar of socio-economic development, socio-economic transformation, that explains the kind of investments we have made in the areas of education, areas of health, areas of transport infrastructure, extension of electricity, provision of safe water, and all these programs. Agriculture extension services, parish development model. So all the programs that we come up with are intentional, and they are guided by this ideology of NRM. We all now appreciate that ICT is a key facilitator of socio-economic transformation. And that's why the President and indeed the government established a standalone ministry responsible for ICT. Because much as we address different areas of development, but we all appreciate that technology is what is driving the development processes, and we wouldn't want to be left behind. And therefore, when we gather here to discuss the digitization agenda, the digital transformation agenda, we are fitting into those broad ideological goals of the NRM government. And I would like to start by appreciating all of you who have found the time to come and be part of the family of ICT, particularly to support Nita-U, that is hosting us as our agency, and also to appreciate the good work that you are doing, because this is the information and the communication family that is gathered here this morning. And therefore, on behalf of government, I would like to appreciate all of you. Now, having said that, when you examine the frameworks and instruments government has put in place, you will discover that ICT remains central. Whether you read the Vision 2040, whether you read the NDP 3, whether you look at the NRM manifesto, the most recent, all of them speak to the fact that we should address the issue of digital transformation in order to have accelerated development in this country. And once again, I thank all of you, because this cannot be done by the Ministry of ICT and Nita-U alone, but all of us in the government, outside the government, private sector, all of us are working as a family to see that we attain this accelerated transformation occasioned by the digital agenda. We are gathered here to celebrate the achievements of the Regional Communications Infrastructure Program, RCIP Uganda, and we want to salute Nita-U, which has been our flagship agency that has led us in the implementation of this program. I want to salute Dr. Hatwib and his team, Collins, and the entire team at Nita-U. Dr. Hatwib elaborated and highlighted the key achievements registered in this program, and would like to thank you. It is always good to start. It is always good to start, but it's even better to reach the finishing point when you have results, when you have successes to report. And that's why we have gathered here to celebrate you, to thank you for the great milestones, the great achievements that you have registered. And indeed, all of us appreciate that we have moved as a country. When you reflect back and look at what was happening in the 80s, early 90s, how we did our work in the government, how we communicated, there has been a lot of progress registered, courtesy of the efforts of all of us here, and we should appreciate the journey so far covered. Although we have covered a great length